Hi there, Mouseketeers. We here at the Disneyland Beat are a bit biased for the original House of Mouse, but we think we have some pretty darn good reasons on why a vacation to Anaheim has many advantages to doing Disney in Orlando. Stay tuned as we run down our top 6 reasons why you should visit Disneyland instead of Disney World in 2020. Welcome to the Disneyland Beat, Mouseketeers, where our toes tap to a Disneyland drum and we always whistle while we work. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe and ring the bell to keep up on every Disney Beat. There are amazing and unique experiences to be had at every Disney park, but we think we have 6 pretty compelling reasons why you might want to consider Disneyland instead of Disney World this year. Reason number 6, history. It may be cliche, but it is true. Disneyland is the original, and you can feel it when you are inside the park. This is the park that Walt himself built and filled with Disney magic. The place he created, managed, worried over, and loved, and there is evidence of this and the original 1955 park everywhere you look. Only at Disneyland can you visit Walt's apartment, where a lamp is kept eternally lit in his honor, or ride the Matterhorn bobsleds that he inspired. Well, how about visiting Walt Disney's Tiki Room that was built with his own money? Or ride the original and best version of Pirates of the Caribbean that was the last ride that Walt worked on, making decisions and adjustments up to the end of his life. This is the park where legendary Imagineers came up with a Haunted Mansion, Main Street USA, The Hub and Disney Castle, the Rivers of America, and where the first Disney audio animatronics were first built. You can feel all of this at Disneyland and walk in Walt's footsteps, seeing what he saw and eating what he ate. They are not hard to find. It all happened here. Reason number 5, rides. For the purposes of this category, live entertainment and even walk-through attractions do not count, only rides. We fully agree that there is a lot more to the parks than the rides, but for the sake of this particular comparison, only attractions with a ride vehicle count, such as a dark ride, coaster, or train. Walt Disney World has about 55 rides spread out over 4 parks, and I do mean spread out. It will take you some serious time to get around to them all. Disneyland Resorts also has about 55 rides, but they are spread out over 2 parks. So you certainly are going to get a lot more bang for your buck as far as rides are concerned at Disneyland, as you will only need to buy 2 park tickets to experience all of the rides. A 1 park a day ticket for Disneyland and Disney's California Adventure will run you about $200, where a 1 park a day ticket for all 4 Disney World parks would be about $329 to go on a similar amount of rides. You will find that you can ride more rides in a single day at Disneyland than you can at Walt Disney World too, as it is a far more efficient park. However, please note, we recommend enjoying Disneyland Park over 2 days, especially without an experienced guide. That said, on a well-planned, low-crowd day, you can ride everything in a day. Reason number 4, Max Pass versus Fast Pass Plus. Well, both resorts have a Fast Pass system, but implement them very differently, and we find we far prefer the Disneyland approach. Walt Disney World uses Fast Pass Plus, which guarantees each guest 3 Fast Passes that they have to book prior to their arrival. You can book these at 60 days out, which is a good idea, as they can run out of Fast Passes for a certain ride you may want to ride, which are arranged in a pretty confusing tiered system. Unlike Disneyland, almost every attraction at Walt Disney World has a Fast Pass option, and it is difficult to make those kinds of decisions that far out. Getting an efficient day out of Walt Disney World takes an incredible amount of planning and agreement in your group on what you want to do almost 2 months before you get there. Disneyland offers a much simpler and effective system. First of all, only select rides offer Fast Pass, which goes a long way to keeping standby lines more reasonable. And you can simply book a Fast Pass for yourself or your group physically at a kiosk or at an app on your phone once inside the park. Done and done. You can then book another one after a set amount of time, usually an hour or so, depending on how crowded the park is on that day. At the Disneyland Beat, we have had days where we have used 8 or more Fast Passes to skip lines throughout the day. It allows for more flexibility. Don't you want to follow that Disney magic? The only advantage we see to Walt Disney World's version is if you are coming to the park late in the day, because Disneyland Fast Passes run out as the day goes on, depending on demand, and the best way to utilize them is to come early. At Walt Disney World, everything is prearranged, so you could come late and use them at any point. Reason number 3, charm. Both Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom are based on the same layout and lands. California Adventure shares a lot of similarities with parts of Epcot and Hollywood Studios. But we think that Disneyland Resorts accomplished their Disney magic in a far more charming way. A good example of this is Main Street at both parks. Main Street USA at Disneyland is built to 3/4-inch scale with forced perspective buildings that seem to create a sense of ease and charm that invites you into Walt's fantastic land, almost embracing you. You can read the words on the second-story windows. It is loosely based on Marceline, Missouri, and Fort Collins, Colorado, and feels at once like an old hometown and the gateway to a fantastic place made just for us to explore. Main Street at Walt Disney World is large, beautiful, and impressive. The full-sized buildings tower over the street, and second-story windows are distant or out of sight. In fact, it is all so substantial, it is actually awe-inspiring, encouraging one to genuflect on how impressive it all is. We find Disneyland just so warm and welcoming. Reason number 2, California weather. It can be hard to time Florida weather just right. It can be oppressively hot and humid in the spring and summer and wet and windy in the winter. We think a good example of how the weather affects the experience, though, is to look at an attraction, like the Mad Tea Party. At Walt Disney World, as with many attractions, it is covered or indoors. Downpours happen with some frequency at Walt Disney World, and it is reflected in the design of the parks. At Disneyland, the Mad Tea Party is outside, under trees and wisteria and tea lights, and the ride is much prettier and has much more charm. Disneyland has a much more outdoor feel to the design of the entire park, which complements its sunny and temperate climate. Many East Coasters have an impression of California as a tropical rainforest or a jungle similar to Florida, but it isn't. It's a dry and temperate zone with very consistent weather year-round. In fact, the one downside has been forest fires are getting bigger and closer to Disneyland every year in the fall. California does get a little wetter and cooler in the winter, but overall it is much easier to plan on Disneyland weather being nice whenever you want to visit. Reason number 1, accessibility. This is the big one. Someone once told me that Walt Disney World and Disneyland both have the same amount of Disney magic spread across their parks. So it follows that Disneyland's magic is far more concentrated than Walt Disney World's. Simply put, Disneyland resorts are tiny compared to Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World has 4 parks, an airport, 2 water parks, an entire town, systems of waterways and a network of roads, real estate, dozens of hotels, convention centers, all within its own county government on about 25,000 acres. It is all really impressive. Disneyland is far more manageable, taking up only 500 acres. Remember, they have similar amounts of attractions overall, so Disneyland is a much more concentrated theme park. You will spend much less time walking around and more time riding rides and watching shows. To get around the Disney World parks, many prefer to drive or take a complicated and extensive system of buses, ferries, monorails, and most recently gondolas. To get around Disneyland, most people just prefer to walk. While at Disney parks, we always like to stay as close to the parks as possible. Getting an early start to your day at Disney is really important, and we like the intimacy and feeling of staying within walking distance, so you don't have to get up at 5 in the morning to be on time to your character breakfast in the park. While we do appreciate Disney World has more affordable on-campus hotels than Disneyland, there is no hotel at Disney World you can stay at that is close to everything or where you can walk to any park. Disneyland only has 3 on-campus hotels compared to Walt Disney World's 25, so they are pricey, starting at $350 a night. But it has many affordable good neighbor hotels that are just off-campus in the $100 to $200 range. Specifically, many of the hotels on Harbor Boulevard next to Disneyland are a closer walk to the parks than most of the on-campus hotels. If you didn't know, California Adventure and Disneyland are right next to each other and share a single esplanade, making walking between the parks incredibly easy, and park hopping is a very regular thing. Also, we find having Anaheim real-world amenities within walking distance makes it really easy to step away from the Disney price tags for a few meals or shopping needs while never having to get the car out of the lot at the hotel. We regularly spend entire vacations at the park without driving or taking any public or park transportation and walking to everything we want to do. When you stay in the park hotels, you get the same experience, plus you are exposed to a bit more of the magic of downtown Disney, which is the pathway to the hotels. And Disney's Grand Californian, its flagship hotel at the park, has its own private themed resort entrance to California Adventure. Wow! Well, that about wraps it up for the Disneyland Beat today. What do you think, Mouseketeers? Which Disney resort is your favorite and why? Let us know in the comments below, and please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more Disneyland news and reviews. See you real soon!